This just-released footage of El Chapo shows the drug lord looking teary-eyed and in shock after he was flown to New York.
Deep within the confines of the Alcatraz of the Rockies, a world unfolds that defies imagination. Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, once a notorious drug lord, now endures a life more chilling than his criminal past. Locked in a 7 by 12-foot concrete cell, his existence is a stark contrast to the lavish lifestyle he once led. Every day is a battle against isolation, as he spends 23 hours alone, cut off from the world. His cell, devoid of comfort, houses only a concrete bed, desk, and chair, all bolted to the walls. The narrow window offers no view of the outside world, leaving him to contemplate the harsh reality of his confinement. In his barren landscape, even the most basic privileges are luxuries. El Chapo's meals are delivered, and his access to recreational activities is severely limited. His only respite is a 1-hour daily walk in a small concrete pit, where he is closely monitored by guards. Despite his once formidable power, he now navigates a world where every move is controlled, every action scrutinized. But perhaps most disturbing are the tales of El Chapo's past within these walls. Stories of drug and sex addiction paint a picture of a man consumed by his vices. Competing with fellow inmates to see who could last the longest during sexual acts, he orchestrated a life of debauchery within the confines of his cell. Prostitutes were brought in, and even female prisoners were not safe from his advances. As we delve deeper into El Chapo's life in prison, we uncover a world that is unsettling as it is intriguing. His story is a stark reminder of the fragility of power and the price of its pursuit. Join us as we unravel the layers of El Chapo's existence behind bars, where every moment is a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure, even in the darkest of places. This is El Chapo's life in prison is more disturbing than you think.
You all saw it was an inevitable sentence. There was no discretion by the judge, as he stated. And I know that the judge felt that I was re-arguing the motion for a new trial, but there was a reason why I stated it again. Because the issue is so important, and the issue is so germane to our justice system. And in essence, what happened here, and as I said this before I met any of you, this case was simply an inquisition. It was a show trial, and how it ended is exactly perfect for that description, in that it didn't make a difference what the jury...
Deep within the confines of ADX Florence, a place where time stands still and hope fades like a distant memory, El Chapo dwells in a world of stark contrasts. Once a powerful drug lord, now a shadow of his former self, he navigates the harsh realities of life behind bars. His days are regimented, each hour blending into the next in a monotonous cycle of solitude. Within the confines of his cell, he is alone with his thoughts, grappling with the ghosts of his past and the uncertainty of his future. But amidst the bleakness, there are whispers of a life left behind, tantalizing hints of a world beyond the prison walls. As El Chapo walks the narrow confines of his cell, memories of his former life flood back, offering a glimpse into the mind of a man who once ruled an empire built on crime. Yet, even in the darkest moments, there remains a glimmer of hope, a belief that somewhere, somehow, there is a way out. As the days turn into weeks and the weeks into years, El Chapo's story unfolds, revealing the hidden truths of a life lived on the edge of darkness.
Feds knew that capturing El Chapo is one thing, but keeping him in prison, that's a different ballgame. So, they took him to ADX Florence, or the place for prisoners most capable of extreme violence towards staff or other inmates.
In the depths of ADX Florence, where every moment is a battle against despair, El Chapo's resilience is tested. But as the world outside moves on, his story stands as a testament to the enduring allure of power, the fragility of freedom, and the human spirit's unyielding will to survive. In the heart of ADX Florence lies a stark and unforgiving space that El Chapo calls home, a 7 by 12-foot concrete cell that serves as both sanctuary and prison. The cell is a study in contrasts, a place where the boundaries between freedom and confinement blur into insignificance. ADX Florence, also known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, is an administrative maximum security penitentiary located in Fremont County near Florence, Colorado. It's operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons and was opened in 1994 to house the most dangerous and violent criminals in the federal system. The prison is part of the Federal Correctional Complex in Florence. FCC Florence, and is situated on 49 acres of land. Upon entering, one is immediately struck by the overwhelming sense of isolation that permeates the space. The walls are thick and solid. The cell's furnishings are sparse and utilitarian, reflecting the harsh realities of life within its confines. A bed, little more than a slab of concrete with a thin mattress, sits against one wall, its surface worn and threadbare from years of use. A desk and chair, also made of concrete, are bolted to the floor, offering a small semblance of comfort in an otherwise bleak environment. Despite its austere appearance, the cell is not without its amenities. A small narrow window, set high in the wall, allows a sliver of natural light to filter in, though its view is obscured by thick metal bars. The window is angled in such a way that only the sky is visible, denying El Chapo any glimpse of the world beyond his prison walls. Basic necessities such as a toilet and sink are also provided, though they offer little in the way of privacy or comfort. The toilet is a simple, functional fixture, its water supply controlled by guards to prevent flooding or misuse. The sink, likewise, is a bare-bones affair, offering only the most basic of amenities. The design of ADX Florence emphasizes maximum security and isolation. The facility is surrounded by 12-foot high razor wire fences and features pressure pads and laser beams to detect any escape attempts. Heavily armed officers patrol the perimeter, and attack dogs are used as an additional deterrent. Inside the prison, inmates are kept in near-total solitary confinement, as they all spend about 23 hours a day in their cells. ADX Florence houses some of the most notorious criminals in the United States, including domestic and international terrorists, gang leaders, and high-profile criminals. Inmates at ADX Florence are classified into different security levels based on their behavior and the threat they pose. The facility has various units, such as the General Population Units, Special Housing Unit, SHU, Special Security Unit, H Unit, Control Unit, and Intermediate Transitional Units, each designed to meet the specific security needs of the inmates. Overall, ADX Florence is a highly secure and isolated facility designed to ensure that its inmates are unable to escape or pose a threat to society. It's a testament to the U.S. government's commitment to keep dangerous criminals off the streets and behind bars.
The cell's thick walls, ceilings, and floors are made out of solid concrete, and everything in it is built into the cell infrastructure. Each cell has a small desk, a stool that is barely big enough for inmates to sit on, and a concrete bed with a thin mattress.
In the harsh confines of ADX Florence, El Chapo found himself confined to a cell that offered little connection to the outside world. His cell, much like those of other inmates, had 2 doors, emphasizing the strict control over his movements. These doors, heavily monitored and controlled, restricted his contact with the outside world to a bare minimum, leaving him isolated for about 23 hours a day. The only window in El Chapo's cell was a mere 4-inch by 4-foot opening, a far cry from the scenic Rocky Mountains surrounding the prison. The tiny window did not provide any view of the outside world, further emphasizing his isolation. Inmates at ADX Florence are intentionally kept unaware of their specific location within the complex, adding to their sense of disorientation and seclusion. Beyond the cell walls, a complex array of security measures ensured El Chapo's containment. Motion detectors, cameras, and 1,400 remote-controlled steel doors were just the beginning. Correctional officers monitored inmates 24/7 from the control center, ensuring constant surveillance. In the event of an emergency, a single red panic button would seal off the entire facility. Outside the prison walls, the perimeter was fortified with pressure pads and 12-foot razor wire fences, patrolled by heavily armed officers. The prison's design and security measures made the thought of escape daunting, if not impossible. Despite these measures, there have been instances of violence within the facility, highlighting the challenges of maintaining control over some of the most dangerous criminals in the system. In the stark confines of ADX Florence, El Chapo found himself confined to a cell that became both his sanctuary and his purgatory. The isolation and lack of external stimulus weighed heavily on his psyche, exacerbating the mental toll of his imprisonment. The 4-inch by 4-foot window in his cell provided a narrow glimpse of the outside world, but it was insufficient to alleviate the sense of confinement. Unable to see beyond the prison walls, El Chapo was deprived of the most basic human need: the sight of the sky, the changing of the seasons, the passage of time. This lack of visual stimuli contributed to a distorted sense of time, with days blending into each other, creating a timeless and disorienting existence. The constant surveillance further added to a sense of isolation. Cameras and motion detectors tracked his every move, leaving him with a pervasive sense of being watched. Even the remote-controlled steel doors, operated by correctional officers from a central control center, reinforced the idea that his every action was subject to scrutiny and control. The solitary nature of the confinement took a toll on El Chapo's mental well-being. Human beings are social creatures, and prolonged isolation can lead to a range of psychological issues, including anxiety, depression, and even psychosis. Without regular human contact, El Chapo's mental health deteriorated, leading to sleep disturbances, mood swings, and cognitive decline. The lack of meaningful human interaction also deprived El Chapo of a crucial source of emotional support. Inmates in ADX Florence are allowed limited contact with their inmates, and those interactions are strictly monitored and controlled. This isolation from meaningful social connections left El Chapo feeling alienated and disconnected from the outside world, exacerbating feelings of loneliness and despair. Despite these challenges, El Chapo's resilience and adaptability shone through. He found solace in reading, using the books and magazines provided to him as a means of escape from his harsh reality. These moments of intellectual stimulation provided a brief respite from the monotony and isolation of his daily life. The psychological impact of isolation and lack of external stimulus cannot be overstated. For El Chapo, confinement in ADX Florence meant not only physical imprisonment, but also a profound psychological and emotional burden. The combination of sensory deprivation, constant surveillance, and social isolation took a heavy toll on his mental well-being, highlighting the harsh and dehumanizing nature of solitary confinement.
A concrete bed with a thin mattress. Close to it is a small shelf with a built-in radio and a black and white TV that only broadcasts recreational, religious, and educational programs. There's also a bathroom with a toilet that gets automatically shut off in case of a blockage, a shower that comes with a timer to prevent prisoners from drowning themselves, and a sink with no tap to prevent prisoners from harming themselves. The cells also have double sets of sliding metal doors with solid exteriors that separate the cell from the hallways so prisoners can't see one another. They also keep the inmates from knowing when guards are passing, or when people are in the facility at any given time. Plus, the doors help to reinforce the feeling of isolation and allow the guards to pass the prisoners food without even seeing their faces.
El Chapo, age 62, found himself in the company of other notorious inmates, including the Unabomber and perpetrators of the Oklahoma City bombing and the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. In ADX Florence, all 400 inmates, including El Chapo, spend 23 hours a day in soundproof cells. Their only respite is 1 hour of heavily supervised rec time. During this hour, they're both handcuffed and shackled under close observation. Inmates are prohibited from using phones, and the television programming is severely restricted, limited to black and white recreational, religious, and educational content. The cells at ADX are stark and unforgiving. Everything, including the bed, stool, and shelves, is made of stone and structurally attached to the walls or floor. The bed is a concrete slab with a small pad as a mattress, while a small concrete stool is molded to the ground. A few shelves protrude from the walls near the in-cell sink, providing minimal storage space.
Has led some prisoners to a critical level of ontological insecurity. This condition makes the prisoner confused and not sure if they even exist.
The prolonged confinement and isolation experienced by inmates at ADX Florence have profound psychological effects. Being confined to a small, soundproof cell for 23 hours a day can lead to severe mental health issues. Many inmates experience anxiety, depression, and hallucinations due to the lack of stimulation and human contact. The controversy surrounding the impact of such conditions on inmates is significant. While some argue that these strict measures are necessary to ensure the safety of both inmates and staff, others believe that they amount to cruel and unusual punishment. Critics argue that such extreme isolation can cause lasting psychological harm and may even constitute torture. Studies have shown that extended periods of solitary confinement can lead to a variety of negative outcomes, including increased rates of self-harm and suicide. Inmates often struggle to maintain their mental health in such restrictive environments, leading to a further deterioration of well-being. As we delve deeper into the world of ADX Florence and the life of El Chapo within its walls, we witness a complex and often harrowing reality. From the stringent security measures to the psychological impact of isolation, every aspect of this high-security prison challenges the human spirit. El Chapo's story is just one of many within ADX Florence, where inmates face a daily battle for survival and sanity. Despite the controversies and debates surrounding the treatment of inmates, one thing remains clear. The conditions of ADX Florence are designed to ensure that those who enter its walls are cut off from the outside world, both physically and mentally. The case of El Chapo serves as a stark reminder of the harsh realities of the criminal justice system and the immense challenges faced by those who are incarcerated in such facilities. It also raises important questions about the nature of punishment and rehabilitation, and whether the current system truly serves the best interests of society as a whole. As we reflect on the life of El Chapo and his time at ADX Florence, we are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Despite the challenges he has faced, El Chapo remains a symbol of strength and determination, a testament to the power of the human will to endure even the harshest of conditions. In the end, the story of El Chapo and ADX Florence is not just about one man or one prison. It's a story that speaks to the complexities of justice, punishment, and human nature itself. And as we continue to grapple with these issues, we are reminded of the importance of compassion, understanding, and the ongoing pursuit of a more just and humane society.